Hello, thank you for stopping in and watching my video. I'm Certified Moth. The speed paint that you are watching right now is an art fight attack that I did this year. It was one of my last attacks of the season, and it's actually the biggest attack I've ever done and the most characters I think I've ever done in one drawing. I figure if you clicked on this video you probably already know what Art Fight is, but just in case you don't, Art Fight is an artist's event during the month of July where you basically just choose one of two teams and then you make art for the opposing team, and the more complex or difficult or detailed an artwork is, the more points it gets, and at the end of the month they add all the points up and they figure out which team had more. When you make a drawing for someone else, it's called an attack, and what I've done is I've made one attack for 5 different people in this speed paint. All 5 of the characters that I drew are fan OCs for a webtoon called Tower of God, and the original artist of the OCs will be linked in the description if you want to check them out. Now, I probably should have done the characters one by one, but I ended up doing all the sketches at once, all the line art at once, all the coloring at once, and then all the shading at once. So I'm sorry if the speed paint isn't lining up with what I'm talking about. I didn't feel like trying to recreate a style 5 times. I'm just going to introduce and give a short explanation for all of the characters, starting from left to right. The character to the left is called Yongja Park, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and she is by Shadow Dragon 993, and she is just so cute. I had so much fun. She was the first character I sketched out, and as soon as I sketched her I was like, yeah, this is gonna be a really fun drawing for me, and it was. She was also the character that made me want to draw all of the characters in this drawing with a weapon of some sort. I don't draw characters with weapons nearly often enough, so it was a fun challenge, especially swords. I don't draw swords that often. And the sword I drew in this definitely isn't perfect, but it was still fun to try. She also has these cool wings that are like really damaged, and I can draw wings. I've done sort of studies on how to draw them before, but I didn't want to, I don't know, sometimes it's just you don't want to do all that detail in a drawing, and this was one of those times. So her wings are pretty loose with the detail, and I also put them behind other characters so I wouldn't have to worry about trying to make them look really good. But overall, she was just a really fun character to draw. I just had a blast with her. And then the second one in the line is, I hope I'm pronouncing this right as well, Jun Seong. I'm really sorry if I'm not. She is designed by famous Hoshi, and I had a bit of a harder time with her than I did with some of the other characters. I don't know, something about her face and her body and the pose I chose. It wasn't a hard pose, but it just couldn't quite make it work. I had to do a lot of changing around the way she was looking. She is also a swordswoman, and hindsight is 2020. I should have put her in a different spot in the lineup because I have both sword users standing right next to each other. And she had this really cute sun tattoo that I just forgot, and you wouldn't have been able to see much of it from the way I posed her, but I still wish I'd included it, and I feel really bad about forgetting it. And she had 2 references, and one was like kind of pastel, desaturated, and one was really bright, and I ended up going with the bright one. But there is a part of me that kind of wishes I had done the more pastel one, because I really enjoy pastel characters. I don't usually work with such bright colors as is in this design, but maybe that's a good thing that I decided to go outside my comfort zone. Out of all the characters, I think she's the one that suffered most from the canvas size I used, because Art Fight has some limitations on how big of a canvas you can use to post your images, or I guess just more like image resolution. So I chose a bit of a smaller canvas than I really should have, and that made doing her freckles and her facial features, I don't know why, she was the one that suffered the most from that. And that's kind of just a bit of a bummer. I should have started with a really big canvas and then just taken the dimensions down once I needed to shrink it to go in Art Fight, but I don't know why I didn't do that. It's something I kind of regret. She also has this really cute downturned eyeliner, and I couldn't figure out how to make it work in my style, because it's kind of one of those things where if you draw it like it's in the reference, it would be going off the face. So that's something I need to think a bit more about of how I'm going to translate that. And she also had these really cute buns. I loved drawing those buns. I don't really draw characters with buns, but she might have changed my mind about that. The character in the middle is Rei Lopobia by MJ Chan. She uses Shinsu, which is like the magic in Tower of God. And I just want to say some of these characters were so pale because I naturally gravitate to a bit of a more tan skin tone. But with some of these characters, the color wheel was like basically all the way to white, and I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't even realize. I thought I was making some of my characters pale. I don't think I was making them as pale as I thought I was. And let me tell you, I had the hardest time finding a flower brush for her shirt. I was trying so many different flower brushes, changing the settings, changing the colors, when I could have just drawn them by hand and been done way sooner and probably would have liked the outcome more. But whatever. She had a lot of gold on her, and I don't usually draw metals because they're a lot more work. And I didn't put too much effort into shading them, but it was still like, again, it was just something that was a bit more challenging for me, so I'm glad I chose to do a character that had some metal on her. I ended up making her anatomy a bit weird. I did change it a bit in the second sketching phase, but I still think like her legs and torso ratio compared to the rest of the body is a bit off. But what can you do about it? I mean, I don't know. She also had these really cute flowers in her eyes, and you can barely see them in my drawing because I don't really draw big eyes, but that made me so sad because it was a really cute, like it looked really cute in the reference picture, and I was kind of disappointed that I couldn't really do that justice in my style. But again, this is like all of these characters, she was just a really fun character to draw, and one thing I really enjoyed was doing the colored tips of her hair. I need to do that for some of my own characters because I'm a really big fan of the way that looks. And the fourth character is probably another one who I'm going to mispronounce the name of. It's Fotios? I don't know. Spelled Fotios, Myron, by Moodle Noodle. And I was excited to do him because he's the only boy of this bunch, and also because it was clarified that he's a scout, which is like a role in Tower of God that someone will take on the battlefield, where it's just what the name sounds like, they scout out the battle. And because it was clarified he's a scout, I could draw him with observers, which are those things floating around his shoulders, which is just like a tool they use to help them observe the battlefield. And also his weapon of choice is a needle, at least in one of the references, so I just pulled that into this one because I was really happy to see a needle user in this drawing, or just out of these characters, because canonly in Tower of God, swords are not really a thing that are used very commonly. Needles are sort of it's what you use instead of a sword. And yes, swords are cool. They're really cool. I really like swords. If I were making a Tower of God OC, I would probably also give it a sword because I like swords. But I still like seeing people sort of going along with the canon of what's common to see. And he was another one that I struggled a little bit with. Like, it turned out being that I really like both the characters on the outside, I really like the one in the middle, and then the two in between just didn't turn out as well for me for some reason. I thought his legs really lacked any definition or shape, which was, it's something I need to work on, still having the definition in male legs. I tend to make them really skinny and just flat and straight, especially when I put them in pants. I want to get better at making it look like there's still legs underneath those pants. His pose was also one of the more plain ones in this drawing, and I had trouble with his hair too. But the one thing I'm so proud of this in this drawing is his one hand that's holding the needle. It's definitely not perfect, but I was having a really hard time getting it right, and then I just happened to reposition the thumb, and all of a sudden it was like, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. And did I look up a reference? No. Should I have looked up a reference? Yes, but I didn't, so I'm proud of myself that it sort of turned out anyways. My big problem with his hands, is that they end up being kind of big compared to the size of his face and head. And I think that's just something that I personally need to work on more in my art, because I'm fine with really simply posed hands, but when I try to do a hand that's posed in a unique way, like if it's holding something, I sort of start to lose my grip on how big it should be. But nonetheless, I had a really fun time drawing him, and I was very happy to be drawing a boy in this group. And okay, here comes the final one. And as much as I loved drawing all of these characters, I had just had so much fun with this drawing, but she was my absolute favorite. Her name is Mira Polaris by Stingray36. I just love her design so much. She was the last one I sketched, and something about that sketch, the pose, I just clicked with it, and I just loved it so much. Also, the weapon is really cool and unique. It's like a completely fresh concept that this artist came up with, and it looks really cool. I don't think I quite did it justice, but I still had a lot of fun with it. And the pose in this drawing, it's not just my favorite pose of all these characters, it's probably one of my favorite poses I've ever done. Just the way her legs look, the way she's holding the weapons, the tilt of her head, the way she's staring straight at the camera. I just love that. I don't know what it was. Something was in that drawing. I'm obsessed with it. I also really like her little spiky hair clip thing, and her hair is really cute. I love a big fluffy ponytail. And one of the problems I always tend to have with a lot of art fight characters is the artist won't give a super good description of their personality, and it was sort of the same thing with all these characters of, you know, you could sort of get an idea of it, but it wasn't all the way there, so I had to sort of fill in the blanks for their personality in the drawing. And for her, I ended up making her a little bit more intense, because in her description it said that she is aiming to be a princess, which is a Tower of God thing where it's like, instead of being born into being a princess, you're chosen to be one. And I figure it takes a pretty intense kind of character to be aiming for that. So that's what I did. I made her pretty, I made her scary. And yeah, that's the description of the final character. I hope I made this interesting enough to listen to and I'm not just rambling. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I've never drawn this many characters together in one picture, so I'm pretty happy with, they look pretty consistent. There's a bit of like with the eyes and stuff, and some of the anatomy is inconsistent, but honestly, I'm just really proud of myself for finishing this drawing. It was pretty ambitious, I think. And then for shading, I didn't want to do anything too fancy. I just chose to use a lasso tool and gradients, and then I used your classic multiply layer with purple for the shading color. This is something I want to try again next year for Art Fight, another big group of characters, even bigger than this, but I want to try get a background in next year as well. I just want to keep pushing myself to make more and more ambitious drawings, because, I mean, it's good for me. It's good for my art. But that's kind of all there is to say about my drawing in this video. Maybe I'll talk a bit about my time with Art Fight this year or something. This was my third year doing Art Fight, and it's the most drawings I've ever done in 1 year. So in the first year, I did 6, but only 4 of them were like finished pieces, 2 of them were just sketches. Then my second year, I did 7, which were all finished, and then this year I did 9, all of them were colored, but 1 was more of a sketch. But this is definitely the most effort I've ever put into it. Like, the drawings have been more finished. They've had more of them have had either backgrounds or like scene elements of some sort. Plus, personally, this one attack, it kind of feels more like I'd done 13 attacks, not 9, just because there were so many characters in this one. And wow, I'm just realizing that I did not script enough for this video. Like, this isn't a scripted thing, but I wrote notes for myself. I've still got like 6 minutes to fill. But anyways, Art Fight has been a really good experience for me this year. It always is, but just this year in particular, it's really helped me be more productive, more ambitious. I wasn't super productive, like during the entire middle of the month. I wasn't doing anything on Art Fight because I was away for a while. I was camping and then I was on a fishing trip. But part of the reason that this has been so good for me is because I'm going to art university at the end of the month. Oh my goodness. It's definitely gonna be a transition of what I'm used to doing with my art, going to making more finished pieces, less just what I want to make and more of like what my professors are asking me to make. But I think the number one thing I'm really nervous about is critiques, because I don't handle critiques super well. It's something I'm really still learning how to do, because you know, you grow up in like, especially a small town. I've been basically the best artist at my school most of my middle and high school years. So it's sort of like, wow, I'm not gonna be the best artist in the city at my school or anything. I mean, not that I'm like egotistical or something, it's just like it's gonna be a way different experience with my art and the way I view my art and the way I create. But I'm really excited. And speaking of university, that's actually something I really want to make some videos about. I don't know if it'll maybe be like vlogs, videos about projects that I'm working on. I don't know. I'm excited to see what I'll do with my channel while I'm at university. And if there's any videos you want to see about my time at art school, just ask, because I would be happy to make something, like if you were wondering about the experience or the classes. I am going for a Bachelor of Fine Arts. I'm not sure what I'm majoring in yet, that's going to be a second year decision, but the classes I'm going to be taking are like, you know, you've got your English, creative and critical studies, art history, and then I've got drawing, painting, ceramics, print media, and then glass blowing. That's both my fall and winter semesters. That's all of the classes I'm taking this year. So yeah, if any of that interests you, I would be happy to make a video about it. Or also, if you have any tips about art school going away, feel free to also leave those, because I'm gonna be completely out of my element for a while. I don't plan to stop making videos while I'm away at school, but it's also the kind of thing of I don't know how often I'll make them. It all depends on how busy I end up being and if I have the energy to make these. Although it's not like I'm being super productive right now anyways. I think it's been like a month since I've uploaded. Whoops. Although I am for sure going to get another video out before I go away. I am just about to finish a sketchbook, like so close, and I'll do a sketchbook tour and upload that. And I don't know, the next time I'll find something to make a video about. I wish I could I want to make more old sketchbook videos, but I want to save those for when I have a bit more of an audience, if I hopefully get one. Just because that's like been one of the #1 things I've been really excited about with my channel, is getting to make videos of my old sketchbooks. Because it's kind of like one of those things where I grew up watching those on YouTube, and now I feel like that's a big deal for me, getting to make those myself. So we're getting near to the end of the video, and we're already on the topic of hopefully my channel growing so that I make more videos. If you enjoyed this video, you're interested to see more of what I'm gonna make, please subscribe, like the video, it really does help so much. And leave a comment telling me what you thought of the video, or what you want to see, or just anything really. I'm always just really happy when somebody takes the time out of their day to comment on my video, because it's kind of like, whoa, this person was actually watching this and found it interesting enough to say something. But yeah, and please go check out all those other artists, all the artists whose characters I drew today. They are all just super cool and deserve support. Although, I don't know how many people are going to see this video, but either way, still, please go check them out. Also, please leave me a critique in the comments of my thumbnail, because that's something that has been shockingly hard to get a idea of how to do better. It was not something that I expected to be difficult, but it is difficult. I've been struggling figuring out what I want it to look like. I will have some of my other social medias linked in the description. I'm kind of just active on Tumblr. I have an Instagram that I'm not super active on, and I've deleted TikTok. So you could follow me on there under the same name, but I'm not going to link it. Again, thank you so much for watching my video. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I'm really sorry that this last couple minutes has been super rambly. I ran out of stuff to talk about. I'm sorry. Either way, just again, thank you so much. I really hope you liked this. I'm really trying to get better at my art and channel, so I really hope that I'm, I don't know, living up to whatever standard I've been setting. Bye.